Hi, my name is Chris Hill, and I'm part of the GGS 692 class, WebGIS. And today I'm here to present my project to the class. I built a Texas zombie tweets web map application. Here's the little zombie photo, and that's the state of Texas. I used Mapbox and Leaflet and Twitter tweets. So, a little bit about me, a little bit of background in case you don't know. I'm in the PhD program at Mason, the Earth System Sciences and Geographic Information Sciences. I work as a cartographer currently for NOAA since 2013. I work on nautical charting products. So if you've ever seen one of the nautical maps from NOAA. I am very limited in computer programming. I've done a little bit of Python, a little bit of C++, not very much. I don't consider myself to be an expert, probably between novice and beginner. So I was going into uncharted territory for this project. So, yep, no HTML or Java experience. So getting down into the project, I was looking at the raw data, and first off, I was looking at building a database. I wanted to work with the data that was given to us, so I used the tweets that our professor gave us, which is in T as V format. I was looking at how do I give functionality to this data, and I thought about using delimiting it into Microsoft Excel and giving it rows and columns and being able to play around with the data in there. And this data set was huge. Over 1 million tweets from the United States, Canada, Mexico. There's latitude, longitude. Was able to put those into columns, give it location. I was able to, be able to sort through the data and be able to make it more manageable for myself, especially since I'm not very used to just getting my data from a text file. So usually when I've had past GIS experience, the data is already there, it's already in a table, it's nice, pretty, and I was able to do that for myself to feel comfortable. So from there I started massaging the data. I decided to cut down on the data because I was really having a lot of problems being able to have such a large area. I wanted to focus it down. So I cut it down to under 100,000 tweets, and I decided to use the state of Texas. I decided to use the state of Texas mostly because of how big it was. It's a pretty big state, and I was very familiar with the area. I have family that lives down there, so I know what cities are there, and in terms of population, I'm very familiar. So I was using a place that I was very familiar with, and it looks good in terms of being in the middle of the country. So from putting this into Excel and just opening the file, you're able to see the subject matter is zombies. It ranges from anything from The Walking Dead to World War Z, zombie video games, how people feel like they're so tired that they're feeling like zombies. It's just anything that somebody on a social media platform would talk about zombies. Whether they're loving the show, how they feel, just interesting things that people would tweet. So from this, so when I was able to cut down my data set from Texas, I converted it into JSON, and it was important within that JSON file that I had my longitude, latitude, and the message of the tweet. So getting into my directory structure, so creating my structure, I put this into I started my structure in my computer on my host and using PHP Storm. I wasn't really familiar with this, but going through a lot of online tutorials, especially a lot of the tutorials on the Mapbox website, I really liked these tutorials more compared to what was going on in the Boundless and the Geo server. I was more comfortable with these compared to those because just a little bit of how they were written, how they were done, their examples, it was more easy to work with in my opinion. So that's why I went through that direction of changing. Looking at the folder data, I put the data to display in a Macbox. There's 3 files associated with um, with my project. Um, the main file is the message of JSON. So I did a test. I have the original raw data, and then I have what I you know what I trimmed down to for just Texas. In my folder is my JavaScript code. So that's my main JavaScript code that I wrote. My library, the inner workings of the JavaScript, and my written HTML homepage. So, this is a little bit of what my scripting is inside of the homepage. I added the library for Mapbox. Here's my jQuery for the library. My library and adding the clusters layer. Adding display for the heat map and the style. Moving on to the JavaScript. My notes. I used the query for the jQuery to get the data. Let's see where I am. I registered my account in Mapbox, so I had to be able to get the token for the API for be able to call up the API and have it work. Set up an object map with the location from longitude, latitude, and have zoom for display. So my ID of the map. There's my longitude, latitude for what it's going to work off of. And here is more of my coding from the JavaScript. This is to get the data, to assign the data, the JSON markers. The markers were used for making the heat map and the cluster message layer. There's to make the heat map and add it. Alright, and here's my demo of the heat map. I'm going to play this, and here we go. So this is the heat map layer, so it's out, and as you go in, it's changing with the levels of zoom. You can see that a lot of the data is very heavy around the metropolitan cities like Houston, Austin, San Antonio. Going into a little bit of the Austin area, I'm going to show you what it looks like. So you have light bluish purple, which is the less tweets, and as you're going in, it gets brighter as more tweets. So from dark to bright, dark being the least amount of tweets in an area, compared to brightest where you're getting the most. So looking at these areas, it's very interesting. Like I guess that would be more of a educated guess that you're going to get more tweets from around city areas compared to more rural, just based on the amount of population. So Houston and Austin, we have more people than like a place like in Odessa, Texas, or out there rurally. So here's a look at Dallas. You have the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But anyways, that's Texas, the heat map demo, my heat map layer. Here's a little bit of the screenshots that I took of the heat map. So that's zoomed out. Zooming in a little bit more, you can see the more metropolitan areas starting to pop up. So you see even more there. So it looks like Texas likes their zombies, especially in the metropolitan areas. Going back to my JavaScript, this is where I start to write the code and have it enact for the clustering. I'm able to show the messages, the clustering, and then being able to loop to assign each message a marker, and then adding my layer to the map. So then again, I have another demo of just the layer for the clustering and messages. So within this, we're going to be able to see the clustering for each area. The clustering will have a boundary. So when you hover over it, you'll have a boundary. You'll be able to see how many people are within that boundary from the number, and you'll be able to click on and interact with specific tweets. So we'll be able to see them. So let's play this. So moving in, you're already seeing those district areas pop up. Moving in even more, you see the blue boundary area. That's the boundary of how many of those messages are right there. So that's for Dallas, some of the surrounding area for Dallas. And there is one of the tweets. So they're excited that the TV show is about to come on. So, and as you keep zooming in, it's interesting that the clusters, the areas change. So that's an interesting effect with this type of layer. More tweets. So people really excited about The Walking Dead. But this is a very interesting layer. Again, this one has the more of the darker colors are for the larger clusters, and then as you go out, you get your yellow for kind of like the middle medium clusters, and then green for very light clusters. So, and then the map markers, these little kind of look like Google Pens for the messages. So you're able to see the point data out of those. So in the Mapbox API for this is OpenStreetMap, you're able to get in there and see pretty well where these tweets are coming from, even down to the street level. It's very cool. And that's the demo for the cluster map. Going through a little bit more of the screenshot messages. So, as we're out, you can only see very few, but as you go in, you get to see more of the clustering. Here's an example of one of the messages that popped up. So this is a very interesting layer, in my opinion. Interesting how it comes up when you're more out, you have less, and you go in, you see more. I think that's pretty cool. So here's my app all together. So here's all the layers in one. I'm gonna play this. So it looks pretty interesting to have both layers on at the same time. You definitely have a lot going on then once you have everything on. So, and you're able to actually see a good number count of what's going on in the cities. So like San Antonio, Houston, you're able to see how many tweets were given between that month time frame. So these tweets were between September and October, so middle of September to middle of October. So you'd be right in the middle of the Walking Dead season. It also looked like during this time frame, World War Z maybe was on DVD by that time, or at least out in the theater, so you got those tweets going on, which is pretty interesting. This is Houston. So, pretty interesting when you get down. From my app, it's being out more being zoomed out more helped better for the heat map, showing of the heat map. When you zoom in, you're seeing more of the clustering layer. You can see the messages. Very interesting how that's done through this. So being able to use those codes for those layers. So that's the demo with everything. Oh. So in the future, what I would like to be able to do, I would like to be able to figure out how to code for toggling off and on the layers. That's something that I would have liked to do, be able to do with my application. Adding in a zoom slide bar, so be able to have a bar and then be able to like zoom off of that bar, be able to slide it in and out instead of just using the clickable buttons. Having a word search would be pretty cool. So you'd be able to have like search for hashtags, keywords, usernames, places, and then even farther off of that, it would be very cool to you know, be able to use that to sort through the data. So be able to bring in the full data set and then just say, cut it down to Texas, show me Texas, and then be able to go further in from there and say, only Walking Dead, anything that references Walking Dead, or maybe only retweets, or tweets with only hashtags for that. I think that would be pretty cool. So my overall thoughts of this project, I really think that it was a challenging project for somebody that has never done any JavaScript or any HTML at all. So you definitely have a full challenge ahead of that. What was interesting was, for me, was the data. You had so much, and I think it was easier for me to focus on one area and bring it down to Texas. I would have liked to do. I was confused for a long period of time on the geo server and doing the boundless tutorial. I kept trying to do a lot of that, and I just couldn't get it to work properly. I'd have the map pull up, but not the layers. So that's why I started to look towards different open source models. So I decided to start using leaflet layers, which is very similar to open layers. They seem to be very in direct competition, and that's what led me to leaflet, and then using Mapbox. And Mapbox API just seemed more natural and looked better than what was going on, or what I was doing through the through Geo server. And then just like the tutorials and the examples just seemed a lot more natural, a lot better fit. And then going from those tutorials and using PPH Storm as my local host for my HTML and JavaScript seemed to work a lot better than using GeoServer and Boundless. I just kind of got really confused of what I was doing, and I think that goes back to my level of comfort in this. And this class was very interesting this semester because we did so many different things in open source that I never probably would have challenged myself to do in my job or what I've done before in my master's or my undergraduate program. I mostly was working in just Arc, or I worked in what else? Envy, or more programs that were professionals use. So using QGIS and SQL, command coding, and JavaScript was very different for me. So using the examples from Mapbox and Leaflet seemed a little bit more better fit, and I liked being able to see like better hands-on examples. So I really liked that. I really enjoyed this project, and I wish if I had more time to go through examples on through Mapbox, maybe my project would have a little bit more glitter and glamour to it than what it has right now, and I wouldn't look as much basic. That's my only like little drawback from that. But I really enjoyed this project. I had a lot of fun. and I'm looking forward to maybe in the future, like if I have a chance to display any kind of point data and more open source capabilities, and be able to maybe like bring that towards what I'm doing in my PhD, or what I'm doing at work. So I really like this endless possibilities that have been brought to me through this class, and I really enjoyed that this semester. So thank you for introducing this different type of GIS to me. So, but anyways, thank you again, and that's my presentation. If you have any comments, if we're doing comments through Blackboard, please leave your comments and your thoughts. If you've done anything in Mapbox before, please let me know. I thought it was a pretty interesting experience, and thank you. Bye, guys.